morning. Welcome to another Mind Body Restore class. I'm Deborah and I teach Abhiwan Yoga, the Mind Body Restore, every Wednesday at 12:15, and it's a 45 minutes class. Today I would like to focus on hip mobility, so more like lower body, hamstring, hip mobility, and that type of goodness. So if you're not all prepped up yet, grab your mats, grab your props. Please bring a pillow. If you don't have a bolster, just bring a pillow or two, or maybe just a blanket, like those throw blankets that you can fold or roll it up to make it more like a pillow. Everything else, even the mat, you don't necessarily need it. If you don't have it, you can still practice it with me. So today, make sure that you're also closed to an empty wall where you can do legs up the wall. That's where we're going to start our session today. Just make sure that you can see here well. If you like to put up some music, you can set that up too. Put the music of your choice. I'm working here today with that channel that you can find both on YouTube or Spotify. It's called Meditative Mind. I enjoy it. So if you wanna take your time, just set that up, go for it. And then go ahead and come really close to the wall. You can sit at the wall with the outer hip right next to it, and then swing your legs up as you bring your torso down. This posture is called legs up the wall. So the ideal is to bring the hips all the way into the wall with the spine flat on the floor, fully supported. So if your hips are lifting up, you may need to fold a blanket underneath it or kind of scoot yourself away from the wall a little bit until your spine is long. And that's still okay. Because here it's a place that we can open up the hamstring in a way that the spine remains supported. So if you're already here, just lengthen the legs, take your arms out, bring your palms of your hands up. And if you're okay with that, you can close your eyes, or you can focus your eyes somewhere at the ceiling or in between your feet, finding a focus. And as soon as you focus your gaze behind your eyelids or outside, just tune into your breath. Allow the breath to deepen gradually. Soften the jaw, the eyebrows. Release the shoulders and the arms. Let yourself feel the weight of the legs pressing the sacrum down. And then watch the movement that the breath creates at the belly as you keep it soft for now. Now let let's use the breath to create a little bit of engagement here. So you can use the inhales to lengthen the spine, and the exhales to reach up through the heels, lengthening the legs a little bit more. The inhales, press the tailbone down, lengthen through the back of the head. Exhale, reach through the heels. You can add the arms into this if you want. By inhale, reaching from the shoulders into the fingers. Exhale, reaching from the hips into the heels. And eventually, find a certain engagement in the body that you can keep everything a little bit active but with ease. So there's no tension, just energetic activation. Tone the low belly in slightly. Now if you would like, you can open your eyes at this point or keep them closed. You're going to create a little bit of movement around the ankles. So now, as you inhale, you're going to point the toes up towards the ceiling, lengthening the tops of your feet. And then exhale, reach the heels up, bringing the toes down as much as you can. So go for that. You can begin like a little bit easy and then begin to allow your edge gradually to come into place. So as you point the toes up, you're not only pointing it up but also towards the wall to create lengthening in the front of the shins. And reverse that by, as you draw the heels up, draw the tops of your feet towards the shins to lengthen the calves. You may begin at some point also to feel a little bit of burning. That's okay, you're strengthening the area and lengthening. And eventually find the middle place where you can hold with ease but also activation. Spread and lift your toes. Take your right ankle on top of the left and slide the ankle down, either above the knee or below the knee, but not on the knee joint. Here, aim the right thigh towards the wall. Keep the feet active. And if you can keep your spine flat, the core active, and would like to increase the stretch on the right hip, you can bend at the left knee, sliding the heel down to bring the leg closer to you. I'm going to take a couple deep breaths in here. See if you can allow the exhales to become a little bit longer than the inhales. So if you have an inhale in the count of 4, maybe exhale in the count of 5 or 6. With each breath, keep lengthening the back of your neck, ground down the shoulders, and aim the tailbone down and the hips towards the wall. Go ahead and bring your legs back up. Maybe bend and straighten them a couple times. Shake it off. You're going to switch to the other side. So left ankle goes on top of the right. Slide the ankle down, either above or below the knee. Keep the feet active to protect the knee and the hip. And if you need a little deeper stretch here, you can bend that right knee, sliding the heel down, bringing the leg closer to you. Again, keep trying to aim the tailbone down, the hips towards the wall. Ground down through the shoulders, lengthen the back of the neck. And focus on deep, long exhales. And slide the legs back up. Take a few moments here again to allow the legs to soften. Take the soles of your feet together and the knees out wide this time. You can use the hands to gently assist the thigh bones out towards the wall to open up the hamstrings, or the inner thighs this time. Keep the spine long. And again, focus on your breath, and at the same time, begin to open up also to the sounds around you. Just taking in with no judgments, just taking in an open, receptive way. Your legs back up. Ground the hands down, so if the hands can ground down like mine here, because your arms are long, you can bend at the elbows and ground through the upper arms. Then bend at the knees just enough to plant the feet into the wall. Here it's really important to activate the belly and the glutes to keep the spine safe. Lengthen the back of the neck, draw the chin down and in, ground down through the shoulders, and as you inhale, pick your hips up, squeeze the glutes, keep the back of the neck long, and exhale, lower. It's gonna do that a couple times to open up the upper back and the neck a little bit more. And at some point, you can just pause here and breathe. You can use your hands underneath the sacrum for more support. For more stability, keep the feet on the wall. But if you feel stable here, you may experiment on bringing one knee at a time in towards you, into plow pose. Stay connected with your breath. One foot at a time. Bring it back to the wall. With control, lower the hips down. Now just scoot yourself away from the wall in your preferred way and lay down on your mat. Once you're on your mat, step your feet wide towards the edges of your mat. Take your arms out wide to shoulder high. Round the palms of your hands down. Take a deep inhale. And as you exhale, lower the knees over to one side, gaze opposite of your knees. Then if the next inhale, find center and switch. Just going around with your breath into the movement of windshield wipe. Activate the feet, the glutes and the core. So each time that you bring the knees over to one side, you open up the front of your hips. As you go on side to side equally, pause, you're gonna come back into the hamstring. So if you have a strap, you can go ahead and grab one, or you can also use a belt or a rope, anything that you have it. If you don't have any, forget about this and just bring the leg in, grab a hold behind the leg and work on bending and straightening the knee. If you have a belt, a strap, or anything like that, you can use that on the ball of your foot. Grab both ends of the strap and work on the same movement. The left leg can remain bent, or you can lengthen it out if you prefer. Keep all 10 toes up and spread wide, and the low belly toned and engaged. Now the next time that you lengthen the hamstring, hold. Use the inhales to lengthen through the legs and the exhales to ground out through the shoulders. Bring maybe the leg a little bit closer in. Feel the sensation behind the leg. And use the breath to impact change in your body. Now if you have the strap, bring the strap into the right hand. Bring the leg out. And then bring it back to center. Take the strap into the left hand. Bring the leg over to the left. If you don't have the strap, you just use your hand into your thigh, the other hand on the opposite hip to stay stable, to kind of guide your leg. Again, switching the hands. So you keep the focus still on the hamstring, but you're adding a little bit of inner thigh, and then outer hip and IT bend. So the hips remain grounded and level. You're just moving the leg out, back to center, and across the body. And you can go ahead and hold in one of these positions. Take a couple deep breaths in there. And bring it back to center and go into the opposite direction. Again, hips remain grounded. Bring that back to center. Release the strap out or the leg down and just return into your windshield wipes. Switch to the other side, and if you're using a strap, place the strap on the ball of your foot. If you're using your hand, just interlace the fingers behind the thigh and bend and straighten the knee. Either way, you're working on your hamstrings. The opposite leg can remain bent, or you can lengthen it out if you prefer. Keep both feet active, reaching out from the hips into the heels. And when you find a level of stretch that works for you, hold. In the hold, always remember to stay connected with your breath. Each inhale, lengthening the legs. Each exhale, bringing the leg a tiny bit closer to you. Soften behind the knees so you're not locking the joint. And let's go ahead and move the legs in both directions. So keep the hips grounded. Take the left leg out to the left. Maybe right hand can go on top of the right hip. And then switch. And if you don't have the strap, just use your hand to aim the leg. Same thing, just a different support. Next time that you open the leg out to the side, opening the inner thigh hold. Deep, long exhales. And let's switch to the other direction. Keep the breath flowing freely, steady. Engage at the low belly. Soften the jaw. Good. Now release that out and returning to the windshield wipes. We're gonna add a little bit more movement around flexing the hip and extending the hip, as well as a little bit more core. So coming to a full body stretch with your inhale, and in your exhalation, draw your right knee in. First, grab a hold of the knee to lift the head and the shoulders up. Keep all 10 toes facing up, lengthen the bottom leg. Then inhale, reach the heel up, lower yourself slowly. And switch. In your next exhale, draw your left knee in. Same actions. Go side to side, alternating the knee that you have in. And at some point, I want you to let go of the bind of the hands into the knee, and rather allow yourself to use purely your core to bring the legs and the torso up as you reach your hands in between the leg. Lift the shoulder blades as away across the floor as you can, and continue to move with your breath. Once you've gone side to side equally, come back into the full body stretch. Bend at the elbows to interlace the fingers on the crown of your head. If that's uncomfortable in the shoulders, you can separate the hands apart and just keep the elbows bent. Slide the right leg over to the right and bring the left leg with you. You can cross the left ankle on top of the right. Keep the left hip grounded. And then slide the head and the shoulders over to the same side, so you're creating a lateral bend here. With each inhale, lengthen the side of the body by reaching through the heels and pressing the left ribs out. With your exhales, try to bring as much as the left side of the body down towards the floor as possible, just energetically creating that roll into the left side, opposing the tendency of coming to the right side of the body. Breathe into it. Now go ahead and go to the other side. Slide the left leg over to the left. Bring the right ankle on top of the left leg. And just slide the legs over to the left as much as you can, keep the right hip grounded. Then edge the shoulders and the head. Each inhale, lengthening the right side. Each exhale, pressing it down a little bit more. Come back around to your center, bend at the knees, and draw both legs into the chest. Embrace the legs with your arms, and just rock the spine side to side a couple times, massaging the back on the floor. Now bring that to center. Take an inhale to lengthen the spine fully. And as you exhale, bring the forehead towards the knee. That will be your next flow. Each inhale, trying to lengthen the spine as much as possible, pressing the legs into the arms, pressing the tailbone down. Then exhale, bringing the knee closer to you, reaching the forehead towards the knee. Next time that the forehead comes close to the knee, hold. Oppose that by pressing the legs into the arms. Then release it all down. And rock forward or come to the side of the body to come into a seated position and around into hands and knees. In hands and knees, bring all 10 fingers wide, ground them down to the floor. And we're gonna do again a little flow here, but adding some core into it. So take a deep inhale to lengthen the spine, and then if you exhale, send your hips back into your heels for child's pose. But not to stay. As soon as you inhale, come back up. Keep your spine neutral, gaze down. Tuck your toes under and lift your knees just to hover above the floor. So let me even take this out here so you can see just a couple inches as you keep your spine long and straight. Press the hands back, the knees forward to activate the core. Then exhale, downward dog. Lengthen your spine. Then come back down, let the knees hover. Set them down and child's pose. That's your next flow. Using your breath to move through each one of this. So inhale, hands and knees, hover the knees over the floor, feel the core activating, knees forward, hands back. Exhale, reach the hips as high as you can, lengthen the spine. Bend the knees as much as needed to keep the spine long. And then come back down, first hovering the knees, and exhale, child's pose. Let's continue to move with the breath. Each time you come into downward dog, you can press the heels a little bit more towards the floor. But again, always focusing on keeping the spine long, so you're not rounding through the low back to make that happen. Next time you hover the knees above the floor, hold there for a couple full breaths. And send your hips back to downward dog. If you hold there, pedal for the heels. Carry your knees gently down. And let's hold the knees together for child's pose. You can place some bolster underneath the forehead or stack the hands if your head can reach the floor. But let's try to keep the legs together for this variation of child's pose. Here, just focus on deeply softening into gravity, softening the front of the hip flexors, the head, the upper spine, the shoulders. Come up slowly, back to hands and knees. Bring down your forearms, tuck your toes under on your right leg. Once you extend the leg back with active glutes, then lower the knee down, behind the hip line. And then do the same with the other leg. Once both knees are lower, see how my hips are aligned with the shoulders. Stay there on this kneeling plank with the knee can be down. Forearm kneeling plank, and then hug the elbows back and the knees forward to really activate the core. Draw the shoulder blades apart. We're gonna do a couple deep breaths in here, soften the jaw, gaze down, squeeze the glutes, squeeze the knees and elbow towards one another. A little bit of shaking there, that's good. Then release the hips down. Take one knee out to the side, the elbows out, one cheek into the floor. And let the belly fully go for a deep belly breaths. Maybe feel the heartbeat. Let's just do one more of that founder's core, a variation of the forearm plank, okay? So legs go back. This time as you ground through the hands, pick the hips up to the height of the shoulders, keep the knees down, hug the elbows back if you want like a better vision on what that looks like. Then hug the elbows back, knees forward, draw the shoulder blades apart, gaze down, squeeze the glutes. Deep breath, soften the jaw, soften the gaze. Then release the hips, take the opposite knee out and the other cheek into the floor for your resting pose. Let the belly balloon with each breath, connect with your heartbeat. Now bring your legs back, your forehead into center. Both hands underneath or next to the low ribs. Squeeze the legs together, press them down. Inhale into a low cobra. Draw the shoulder blades down and back. Then exhale, lower. Do that 2 more times. Make sure you keep the legs and glutes active as well as the core. In the third lift, hold. See if you can hover the hands away from the floor, using the back muscles to create that. And release the forehead down. Come up into hands and knees. Take your knees out wide. The soles of your feet together for the wide variation of child's pose. You can come up when you're ready. If you have blocks, bolster, or thick book, just go ahead and grab a hold of it. Anything, like even if a candle that's not light lit up, any object that gives you a little bit of height. So grab a hold of that. It can be 1 or 2. Come back into the hands and knees, and then step your right foot in between that or next to that for the low lunge. In your low lunge, press your hips forward, activate the glutes, the knees stay on top of the hips. You can stay here. If you want to go to high lunge, you can come up here, and that's fine. And then press your hips back to lengthen the hamstring. Gonna go back and forth. So if you're doing high lunge, same thing, you can keep the knee up and just press your hips back, keeping the foot down. So using the glutes and the movement coming from the hips. Active low belly. And the next time you find your hamstring, stretch, hold. Couple deep breaths. Bend at the knee. You can set the knee down if you with the knee elevated, or you can stay there with the knee up. Whatever it helps for you to step both feet together in a forward fold. Bend the knees as much as needed and release the neck and the shoulders fully. Maybe let the spine hang in different directions. Then inhale, come into a flat back using the support that you have, or you can just put the hands into the shins. Flat back, tailbone aligned with the crown of your head as much as possible. And then for a couple times, kind of bend and straighten each knee at a time. come back into bending the knees enough to bring the hands down or into the blocks. And step back with your left foot, returning to the lunge that you were before. Press back, lengthen the hamstring. Not to stay this time for too long, just step back into hands and knees. Then find your way either to downward dog or child's pose. Posture of your choice. When you're ready, I'm gonna prepare for the other side of lunge. Again, you can stay on a low lunge, going back and forth. Hamstring, and then low lunge. Or if you're doing the high lunge variation, just lift that back knee up. Hold on the hamstring stretch of your choice. Tone the belly in, keep the spine as long as possible. Then bend at the front knee, maybe bend at the back knee if needed. But you're gonna make your way into stepping the feet together into a forward fold. Release the neck and the shoulders. Now inhale, bend at the knees with a flat back. Come all the way up to standing. I see that you cannot see me here very well. Create a little bit more distance. Gonna do some lateral bends on the standing position. Just gonna inhale the arms up. You can interlace your fingers and lateral bend to one side. Keep the legs strong, the core and the glutes. Come back to center and switch. Go side to side a couple times. In the third time, on whatever side you began, hold there a little bit longer. Do the same with the other side. Come back to center, release the arms down. Separate the feet shoulder width apart and do a few Tai Chi twists. Allowing the arms, the shoulders and the neck to fully soften. And come back into the front of your mat. Inhale, take your arms up and over your head. Pick up the rib cage. Exhale, hinge through the hips and fold into your legs. For a couple times. Inhale, use the hands on the shins to lengthen the spine. Tone the belly in. Exhale, fold. Keep the knees as bent as needed. Next time that you fold, hold, bend the knees as much as needed for you to be able to embrace the legs. So arms come around the legs and you can grab a hold of opposite elbow or shoulders. And then release the head down and use that to keep the thighs as close to the chest as possible as you lift your hips up. Release your hands down and step back with your right foot. Find that hamstring stretch again. But not to stay for too long this time. Step back to hands and knees. Here, find either knees wide apart, child's pose, or downward dog, whatever your preference is. And we're going to move into the restorative posture in a second. the hips side to side. Okay, so we're gonna do a forward fold restorative posture and focusing on the hamstring that we've been focusing through the entire class. If you have two pillows, great, or you can use one and a blanket. So the options are lengthen your legs in front of you, ground through the sit bones. You can bring a pillow underneath the knees if you have sensitivity behind the knees. You should always keep some type of micro bend on the knees anyway. So that just helps to support that. The other pillow can come in between the torso and the legs. Kind of inhale first to lengthen the spine, then exhale, forward fold. Can do that a couple times. Just kind of hinge through the hip, making sure that the chest is coming first rather than rounding the spine, and keep the belly engaged. So whatever your choice is, you can use both too. At some point when you find your edge, just allow everything to be released down into the support that you have underneath you. Now I'm gonna come out here so I can talk to you and directly to the camera, but please stay in your restorative posture. And there, recall your breath again, maybe focusing on long exhales. Notice the sensations that you feel in your body, maybe in the hamstring, could be in the calf muscle, hips, spine, neck, shoulders. And as you notice the sensations, rather than immediately wanting to change it, see if you can breathe into it. Of course, if there's pain anywhere, just do a variation that works for you or come out of it. But if it's just a level of discomfort, see if you can just breathe a little deeper and stay with what is happening just a little bit longer. As you stay connected with your breath, also open up to the sounds of the room. See if there's any mental and emotional reaction that comes with that physical discomfort. And meet it with compassion, openness. Now slowly roll yourself out of it. And you're going to bend at both knees and step them wide towards the edges of your mat. Lower the knees over to one side. This time you're gonna bring the right leg, so I'm turning it to the left, bring the right leg back and bring the left shin in front of you. So here you're gonna open up the hip a little bit more. So you can explore sensation. You can come kind of a little bit closer to your feet and see how that feels. And then forward fold towards the shin to see how that feels. And maybe forward fold more towards that thigh or that knee. For me, that's where sensation and opening is happening. So I'm gonna pause here and breathe. If for you it's in any of the other two places, pause in those places and breathe. You can come down to the forearms if you have space for that, and keep that foot active to protect the knee and the hip. Long exhales. Come back up. We're gonna do the other side. So feet towards the edges of your mat first. Lower the knees over to the right. This time you can send the left leg a little bit more back. And then align the shin parallel with your torso. And then explore where there's sensation. So you just hinge through the hip, go towards the foot. Maybe nothing there. Hinge through the hip, go towards the shin. And then hinge through the hip and go towards the thigh and the knee. Whatever you find sensation, hold there. Deep breaths, active feet. And when you're ready, come up. Make sure you keep a block or a bolster or a pillow handy as you come down. So for most of the class, we have been doing flexion on the hip. To compensate it, we need to release this. So you can do windshield wipes if you want, if you don't have any pillow or props like that, or you can do bridges. Because I have a pillow, I'm gonna go ahead and use a restorative posture here to release my hips as well. So you can come into bridge first, maybe take a couple breaths in there. Then you can place the bolster, block, pillow underneath the hips. And then when you're ready, you can release the hips into that and lengthen the legs out. The elevation of the hips is going to create lengthening on the front of your hips. So this is where you can be in Shavasana if you want. Just take the arms out, palms of the hands up. Another thing that could be a good compensation for Shavasana would be to place the pillow instead to open the heart. You can roll up a blanket underneath your spine as well. But again, same action, so the arms are falling heavy behind the shoulder. That will help open up a little bit more. Either posture of your choice for Shavasana. Just stay there. Close your eyes. Let the breath become free. The mind become free. And the body to melt into gravity. I'm gonna give you here about a minute for Shavasana. But on your own, you can always take longer, set up a timer or put some music on. Swallow and allow gentle movements to go through the toes and the fingers, wrist and ankles, maybe rolling the head side to side. Then plant the feet back into the floor, bending at the knees. Roll into one side of the body and rest there for a moment. You can use the hands to roll yourself slowly up into an easy seated position. Take your hands into the heart, bow the chin down and in. And take a moment to find maybe 1, 2, or 3 things that you're deeply grateful for. And bring that not only into your awareness, but into the heart and the body. So as you think about those things that you're deeply, immensely grateful for, not that you're supposed to, but that you can actually feel it. To be able to find that in the heart space through the emotion of joy or love, gratitude, bliss. And see that reverberating into the body, out to the world around you. I thank you deeply for your trust and your willingness to try something new in these times of change and patience and waiting. And thank you very much. The light in me bows and sees to the very light in you. Namaste. I hope you stay well and healthy, and stay tuned for more classes to come.